keep your video on. If you don't want to be in the video, then rather keep your video off. But a very, very warm welcome, and thank you so much to everybody for logging on so nice and early on this Wednesday morning, so close to spring. What I'm going to be doing in this session is just covering some features, benefits, tips, and tools that we have in Microsoft Excel that I'm hoping will start conversations in your real life. In other words, just show you what Microsoft Excel can actually do, give you some ideas, generate some brainstorming with your team so that you can get more out of Microsoft Excel. The reason why I get up in the morning is I'm determined to help everybody that I can get a better return on investment, because let's face it, we're all paying for Microsoft every single month. Let's get the most out of that money that they take from us every single month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Microsoft Excel. I'm going to keep my video on, but I cannot see any of the other controls. So please, if there is a question or there is something that you want me to go over or somewhere where you want me to digress slightly, please interrupt me. Unmute yourself and interrupt me. I cannot see you at the moment, but you are more than welcome to interrupt me. This is not a one-way conversation. So please do make use of this time and let's get the most out of it and start some conversations, like I said, in your life. So what I would like to do to kick off is just explain why we're here and what are we doing. So it all started decades and decades ago. We invented the computer and we needed to move all of our physical data into an electronic environment. And this is how the whole technology environment is now structured. For many, many years, a lot of people were data capturers and made a lot of money setting up environments where companies now were moving physical data into an electronic environment. And basically, this is the base of our technology triangle, and hence the word database. We cannot work or gain anything, whether it's insights, information, knowledge, wisdom, unless we have that base, and that base all comes from the data. So we then moved on once everybody was now sort of working in this electronic environment, and the whole job requirement of data capture started to really fizzle out because people were using electronic applications. And it was fantastic because now everybody was speaking about the fact that we are sitting in the age of information. It is wonderful to be born at this time. We are in the age of information. And basically, by definition, what information is in a technological sense is processed data. So all that happened is we went and processed our data and we created information. So again, highlighting for us that it's really important that we need that data in order to have the information. Now, one of the great players in the age of information was Google. Google was born during the age of information, and it was fantastic. We could type anything we wanted into Google's web search, and we would get these amazing results literally in seconds. However, these results were from different countries, different contexts, different companies. There was so much information out there because everybody had now grasped the fact that we were living in the age of information. So we now have moved and are currently living in a completely different space. Technologically, we are sitting in the age of knowledge. So for those of you that are playing in the employment space and the corporate space, you will know that we are looking for knowledge managers, knowledge management systems, knowledge management coordinators. We are living in the age of knowledge. And the way we have created knowledge is we have taken information and we have analyzed it. And now Analysts. Okay, so we have we've created an analysis or analyzed it. And what's happened, let's just change that to the correct word because it is going to bug me. And what has happened, we are now living with knowledge. So again, back to that example of Google. When you now, in this wonderful age of knowledge, when you type in to Google, it gives you results that are relevant to your environment, your context, your company, your country, your people. And that is because Google is running an algorithm that has analyzed all the information it can find about you based on its processing of all of your data, your search habits, your Facebook status, so forth and so on. So now we are sitting in the stage of the age of knowledge. When it comes to working in your professional career and satisfying your clients' requirements, it is critical now that all of us get through these two stages as quickly as possible, literally nanoseconds of your life. You want to be over here. You want to be delivering service that is showing your knowledge. You want to be answering questions for your clients with knowledge. You definitely do not want to be spending your days, your weeks, your months capturing data or processing data to create information. You want to be using the technological tools that are available to you so that you are spending the vast majority of your time actually sitting and analyzing, using your skills, your expertise to deliver knowledge to your clients, because that is where the world is at. After this, what's going to come, and that's why we need to stay up to date, what's going to come after this is wisdom. And wisdom is all about application in different environments. So with application, which apparently I can't spell today, with application, it's when you are now taking your knowledge and applying it to a different environment, a different context. And that is what's coming next. Right now, we have the technology, especially in Microsoft Excel, to get through the bottom part of this technology triangle, literally, ladies and gentlemen, literally in seconds. And we already have the ability to use Microsoft Excel, especially, as well as artificial intelligence, to be sitting over here. And that is why, to outlive our artificial intelligence, we're going to be moving into the wisdom age. It is around the corner. So when we have a look at Microsoft Excel, you can see on the home ribbon here that I'm looking at the moment, all of these features on the home ribbon are all about data and information. Literally, that's why it's called the home ribbon. Microsoft is saying this is the starting point. Please get all of this done as quickly as possible, because we want to take you to, and look right here, a button that was added to Microsoft Excel 365 only last year. This button was added, and that we are now, Microsoft is already hinting and, well, not even hinting, shouting at you. We need to be in this stage, and I have got that artificial intelligence to get you there. So how do we as professionals get as quickly as possible from here all the way up to knowledge? Well, we make use of the way Microsoft Excel was designed. Did you know that there are over 1 million rows in Microsoft Excel? There we go. I pressed end and a down arrow, and you can see the 1 million rows. There are over 16,000 columns. I've used the end on my keyboard and the right arrow. Control Home would take me all the way back to the beginning of the sheet. Now, as you can see, over 1 million rows, over 16,000 columns. That means, ladies and gentlemen, for every sheet that you have in a Microsoft Excel workbook, you have over 17 billion cells at your disposal, and you can't delete them. They don't dissolve, they don't disappear. As soon as you delete a row or a column, guess what? Microsoft just fills it up again for you at the end. So what you are sitting with is literally so much space already created for you by Microsoft, with the big hint of, please use me. They took it a step further. They have given you the ability to have an unlimited amount of sheets in your workbook. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why Microsoft calls their Excel files a workbook, because they want you to have as many sheets as you would find in any book that you took off the shelf in your office. So the idea is, what we are getting to, why this was all designed this way, is the concept is one workbook, one job description or job title or client. So in other words, you should have one workbook for your job title if you are working in a corporate environment. If you are an entrepreneur and you are delivering services, one workbook per client with absolutely everything to do with that particular client or that particular job title in one workbook. And you keep it all together so that you literally now have the ability to back this up, transport it and transfer it. And, you know, when you want to go on leave, when you actually are feeling sick and somebody else has to look after your work, or you want to switch off your cell phone during that annual leave, you literally all have to do is hand over one workbook. There's no other questions. Where is all of your files? Why is some in my documents, OneDrive, SharePoint, across the web, under your seat and all in your email? One workbook to answer all of the questions relating to that job title or to that client. Now, the reason why we want that is because we want to have all of our data in one place. This is when we talk about getting through the data and the information as quickly as possible. If you create and keep all of your data in one place at one time, you can just keep adding to the end of your data. You're not going to run out of space. Let's not forget you have over 1 million rows. You can keep adding columns to your data. You're not going to run out of space. I have got workbooks that I created for some of them. My oldest one, I think, is 1998. I've got a workbook from 1998. It is less than 2 megs. I have never run out of space. And it literally, the thousands and thousands and thousands of rows that it has, tens of thousands of rows, that is looking after data for me. If we keep all of our data in one place, we're going to be able to process that so much quicker, and we're going to be able to create information very quickly, information that is ongoing. And with this information, we're going to be able to analyze, and we're going to then be sitting with knowledge, all in one space at one time. Now, as you can see down here at the bottom, I've gone and color-coded my tabs. So I know what these tabs, I've grouped them, so they're categorized. You have over 16 million colors. There's no ways you're going to run out of colors. So it's very easy to create as many sheets as you want. If, like you see now, I've got a lot of sheets down here and my scroll bar is not working as well as it wants, and I don't want to page through all of my sheets. What you can do is make use of Microsoft's automatic table of contents. So what you do is right-click between your left and right arrow, and it will automatically, let me do that again, it will automatically create for you or show you its table of contents, and all of your sheets will be listed here. So it's very easy to double-click or select and press OK, and land on the sheet that you want to work in. If there are any sheets that you no longer require, it's very easy to right-click on them and hide them. You'd never, ever want to destroy any sort of data that you have collected in your single workbook. You just want to hide it, because you might want to unhide it and bring it back at a later stage when you're trying to identify trends or some other analysis in the work that you are doing. So what I wanted to show you now today is how we can get that data in as quickly as possible process that data into information as fast as possible so that we are spending time analyzing. One of the great ways to get data in is to obviously make use of Microsoft's data environment. So go and get your data from another resource. One of the resources that not many people know about is using the web. So I've done that exactly here. I went and I said, go and get me data from the web, literally copy and pasted the web address in here. And the web address that I used, just for an example, was the JEC. I used the indices to come and give you this example. And I literally typed it in here. And this is what I got. So I now have a live link to that web page. And as that web page updates, so does this data update. I mean, that's nanoseconds out of my life. And now whenever I'm working, if I am quoting on, using the exchange rate, using the weather, using all sorts of things, if you have created that live link, you have got that data right there in your workbook for you to access at any time. So it's a great way to get your data in as quickly as possible. Another great way to get your data into Microsoft Excel, ladies and gentlemen, is to obviously capture it. Now, you will notice that here in the first row, I have no heading. I haven't merged my cells. I haven't created a heading that is literally, for blind people, where people go and merge all the cells, my very special spreadsheet, and they go and make that font size 24. No, I'm using the way Microsoft Excel was designed. In other words, in the first row, we only have column headings, unique column headings. There are no empty cells in the first row. So if I use Control-Shift-End, you can see it takes me all the way to the end, to the first blank cell. In other words, everything that is in here in my data is in this one space. And that's why Control-A, Select All, just works so well, because now Microsoft can see I am using Microsoft Excel the way that it was intended. A lot of times people can't use Control-A because it selects over 17 billion cells, 16 billion cells. So it's because people insert blank columns to make their data look pretty. You don't need to make your data look pretty. You need to make your information or your reports look pretty. Nobody's going to look at your data that you are going to share and report on your information or your analysis. So set this up so that Microsoft can actually help you and anticipate what you're doing. And obviously, you can use all the keyboard shortcuts. What's really required is within, in your first column, you have row labels. And the row labels are unique identifiers. We use unique identifiers so that we can identify the data for that entire row. So no blank cells or columns, no in the first row, no blank rows or cells in the first column. That is the golden rule. One single workbook, rule number 1. Rule number 2, no blank cells in the first row. Rule number 3, no blank cells in the first column. Then Microsoft understands that you are working in Excel and will work with you. As you can see here, I've created a table, and look how it's, okay, let me quickly go and add some rows here so that you can see how powerful it is. I'm going to just show you. There we go. So as you can see, as I go down, it renames the columns, clients, address 2. It automatically renames the columns because I'm using Microsoft Excel tables in the way that Microsoft Excel designed them. I don't have to split my screen. I don't have to do anything along those lines because I am not breaking the rules. So it is a great way, like I said, if we use Microsoft Excel the way it was designed, we will get that help from Microsoft Excel. It will literally anticipate our requirements. Now, a little feature that I just want to show you while we are here is when you start putting data into your spreadsheet, you can use hyperlinks. So K for Kirstin, Control K for hyperlink. gives you the ability to insert a hyperlink either somewhere where you quickly want to jump to or your source document. So your PDF that's sitting in a folder somewhere, anything that's now going to support this data that you have in this file so that you do not spend time searching and looking for your supporting evidence or your source documents or whatever it might be. Make use of Control K to create those hyperlinks and link back to those documents. In this particular case, I've got a list of clients, I've got their address, and what I'm using here is Google Maps so that I can go and actually work out how far they are so that I can complete my travel log. So with a very quick click of a finger, it will automatically open up Google Maps and it will automatically take me to that place that I've got listed for that client. I can share the details on my cell phone, plus I obviously get directions and distance. So quick, fast, and easy through a hyperlink. Now, another great feature, which will have unique circumstances that you can use, is to make use of Microsoft's data analysis. So what they use here is data types. So the one data type that I've used over here is geography. So what's happened is in the city suburb column, I've now went and selected this whole entire column and I went and applied geography just by clicking on that button. And what it's done now is it's actually gone and found that location on using Microsoft's Bing. It's gone and found that location, and I can now get a whole stack of data about that particular location. And what I can do now is obviously use that when I'm interacting with my clients. I've got more information, ladies and gentlemen. I can use whatever information, whatever data is in there to generate information so that I can actually work with it. And there's amazing information in here. You saw there's population ratios, there's dialing codes, there's latitude, longitude, there's some information about it. It's really a great way to add even more data to your spreadsheet to assist you going forward. Now that I've got my clients, I need to go visit my clients. So now I'm creating a travel log. And obviously we all know SARS wants to know every single kilometer we've traveled. So what I've done here again is another database. This, my clients, is a database. JC Indices is a database. My travel log is a database. I have got multiple resources or sources of data all in one workbook. So what I did here is I just entered in my starting odometer reading, and I needed to do that as the first column because remember, I need a unique identifier. So the date might not be unique because I might travel to multiple places. My clients aren't going to be unique because I might go visit my client on multiple occasions. But what will be unique is my odometer reader. I'm making a big deal out of this because if you set your Excel data sources up like this, your pivot tables and all of your analysis going forward literally gets suggested to you by Microsoft Excel because you are supporting the way that it was designed. So there is my unique identifier. And obviously, I'm using formulas to go and automatically fill these up so that I can, again, it's very quick, very fast. I'm using over here a drop list, a unique drop list. So I don't have to remember my clients' names. I can just select them off the list. And that feature is what we use under under data validation. And I have used a list. And that list I'm getting from my clients table. So what it's doing is every time I add a client to this list, it automatically is adding a client to that drop-down box. So it's nice and live. Obviously, my start point, I'm putting in my office because I want that destination. I've got dates. Now, with your dates as well, when you type your date, it's always best business practice to put in, let's say, the day, the month with 3 letters, no punctuation, no grammar, no special symbols. Don't pay attention to anything like that. Type as quickly as possible. So you're going to type the day. You're going to type 3 letters for the month, and you're going to type 2 digits for the year. And you're going to press enter. And Microsoft automatically will format that cell so that your data appears like this. Now, this is a great way to ensure that your spreadsheet now is internationally compatible, because now it doesn't matter whether the Americans have got the month in front or not. Everybody can see what month you are referring to, and Microsoft Excel now gets to work with these dates. It likes it when it has dates like that, and it allows you, when you create a pivot table, to actually have an automatic timeline that it can have, that it will then go and summarize your data on. Without the dates in the correct format, you can't have that automatic feature of a timeline in your pivot tables. So make use of that. When you use a date, it's really awesome. You can autofill, but you might want to autofill only weekdays because you don't work on the weekends, or you might want to autofill by months or years. All of these autofill functionalities become available to you when Microsoft Excel recognizes the date. And the easiest and best way to type that is literally to type the date, the month, and 2 digits for the year. It really is that easy. Just press enter. So it's a great way for you to work. I've made comments, as you can see down the side here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this workbook with everybody that attended today so that you have got this as a reference, literally your note-taking, to start those conversations around you, with the professionals around you, with your team, with your colleagues and your clients, on how to actually use Microsoft Excel, and if there's a better way for you to use it in your environment. So that is why all the comments are here, just to help you so that you don't have to take notes. All right, so we're moving from data onto trip summary. So with trip summary now, I've gone and I've selected all of my clients. I've posted their names here. I'm using formulas like count if. In other words, please go and count how many trips I made to this client, how many kilometers I traveled in total to this client. And you could do this by month, you could do this by year, you could do this by quarter. You know, there are so many fantastic if statements in Microsoft Excel. If you're going to have a look under formulas, you can see over here that literally we have got so many if statements all linked to those things that you want to find out, and you want it to be specific to a certain criteria. So this is where we're now creating your information, and you could now use this to actually start analyzing. So one of the analysis tools I've used is conditional formatting. What I've done here is I've applied conditional formatting to this entire column. I didn't go and make it anything complicated. I didn't make up my own new rule with formulas and cell values or anything like that. I actually just customized top-bottom rules. So with the top-bottom rules, what happens is when you select it, it tells you that it will give you the top 10. It doesn't have to be. You can change it to whatever number you want it to be. You can also obviously go and customize the formatting. I don't get too complicated about it. I want this to be as easy as possible. So I applied that conditional formatting over here so that I could very quickly see where I was traveling the most to, who was demanding the most of my time or on-site visits. In this particular column, my top 2 clients are the clients that literally are taking up so much of my time in travel. So now at a very quick glance, I can see that Collaboratech systems, I'm traveling to them really often and they're far from my office. So now immediately I'm sitting with the knowledge that maybe next time we negotiate our contract, I need to put more virtual hours in than this physical hours, or start charging them more for the physical hours versus the virtual hours. And the same with Insight Enterprises. Everyone else, you know, their contract's doing fine. I'm not worried about it. This knowledge I got at a glance because I'm using colors with a purpose. Conditional formatting will only change color based on a criteria. So if any of these formulas change in value, let's say, for example, I'm going to just type a 0 in here. the color automatically changes. It automatically updates. So the whole entire environment is live and it's going to automatically update, giving me that relevant analysis when I need to see it. So this is taking the data from the travel log, I'm turning it into information by creating a summary, and I'm already analyzing it. So it's a great way and the right way that Microsoft Excel was designed. If I want to report even more and I want to analyze even more, then I would create a pivot report. And this pivot tables really, really work because I have set up my Excel data in the correct way. So because I have column headings with no merge cells, because I have unique identifiers with no blank cells in that first column, when I go and create my pivot table, what happens is, and I'm just going to quickly show you the field list. Let me click here. There we go. Sorry. What it does is it goes and takes all of those column headings and it now puts them in as my fields. And as you see, what I've done here, I've literally, let me take these off for you so that you can see, I've literally dragged and put my fields where I want them to be, where I want to analyze. So I want to filter by date, my entire report by date. So I can either filter it over there or I can use my timeline because now I have dates. This is great. So now it'll automatically filter my data. I've told it in my row labels to use my clients. So now it's going to group all of those measurements based on my clients. Now I can either over here use the drop-down list to select my clients, or I can click over here and only get information relevant to all of my clients. So if I go take that filter off, I can now go and select my clients and get that report or that analysis. These two features here, the date and the destination, these are available to you in your pivot table analysis, where you can insert a slicer, which is exactly like I've done here. You can insert a timeline, which is exactly what I've done over here. And all these pivot tables become so wonderfully easy to create and so wonderfully easy to use because I set up that data the way that Microsoft Excel wanted me to set it up. So now this is what I can share with my client, with my auditor. This becomes a report. And the whole thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it to them, but not my whole entire workbook because I don't want them to see everything. I'm going to use move or copy, and I'm going to send it to a new workbook, and I'm going to create a copy, and I'm going to say, okay. And what it does is it creates a complete clone of that sheet that I can now send or share. So I will click on share, and I will send it to them as an Excel workbook or even a PDF so that they just get a nice report. And I will send that off just by clicking on one of those buttons. I will never, ever save this workbook because honestly, I've already got the master. I remember I used copy, and I have got it in email if I really desperately want to refer to it. So by using the copy function, you can share single sheets, multiple sheets from your master document that you're working in. You can now share with your clients or your suppliers, your stakeholders, whoever it might be. But at the end of the day, you are still sitting with all of that data, that information, and that analysis with you in one workbook. And because of this, we can start identifying trends. It's no use looking at your financials or your habits for 1 month. That's a snapshot. And it's relevant for that month to see how we did. But if you want to start identifying trends, if you want to start identifying habits, we need all of that data to be in one place so that we can go and separate it. For example, we can go and separate it and say, I want to start looking at trends over a yearly basis. So I'm going to just quickly put here year And this data here, I'm going to format using my keyboard shortcuts. I am going to format that as a number. Okay, so there I have 2023. So now I'm able to analyze based on a year because it's going to pick up the year automatically from all the data I'm adding. I can do exactly the same for month. Month is another function that I can use, so forth and so on. And literally, I have the opportunity to hit over 1 million rows. So there's no reason why I would start a new one every single month. And if I don't start a new one, look how amazing this is. What happens is I can now say to Microsoft, analyze my data. So it's sitting with all of this data. It can immediately start picking up trends. It can start seeing behaviors. It'll make suggestions to you on what you should be looking at or what you should be paying attention to. Plus, it actually gives you the ability to ask a question about your data. So you can type in a question and it will then create some sort of suggestion to show you exactly what analysis it is picking up from this data that you have created. And this is where we want to be sitting. We want to be using this artificial intelligence to actually get that knowledge that we can share with our clients. But if we only have a single month snapshot or a single week snapshot, we can't see those habits. We can't see those trends. We're not going to be able to be sitting with knowledge. We're just going to be sitting with data or information. And that is not powerful enough anymore for what we need to deliver to our clients. To show you a quick trick before I open up the floor to questions and to help you with anything that you've got going on in your lives in Excel at the moment, just a very quick trick I'm going to show you is you can go and select anything in Microsoft Excel. Oh, sorry, let me do it properly. You can select, see why I hate using the mouse. You can select anything in Microsoft Excel. It doesn't have to be next to each other. Like you can see here, I've left a column in between. But when I select that, I can use the key on my keyboard called F11, and it will automatically chart whatever I have got selected. So F11 on your keyboard, up in your top first row of your keyboard, will automatically chart whatever you've got selected. And you can go and change the chart type so that it actually serves your purpose, so that you can actually get what you want out of it. Plus, you can obviously go change the colors and all the rest of it. But F11 is a fantastic analysis tool, or a reporting tool rather, because now it will automatically create that chart. And once you've got that chart, you can now go and add a trend line, which is now your analysis. And it'll give you that advantage. It didn't pick up a trend. It'll give you that advantage where you now are delivering knowledge, not just information to your clients. Okay. So I have gone through everything here to show you how we should be using Microsoft so that we can get through this tech triangle and get all of this done in seconds so that you are sitting with this over here. There are many tips and tricks and keyboard shortcuts that I use to capture data. These are my most common ones that I use to get my data in as quickly as possible. So have a look at these keyboard shortcuts when you get the workbook and make use of these keyboard shortcuts. To give you an idea of how powerful it is, if we have a look here, Control D is duplicate down. So instead of Control C, Control V, copy paste, Control D, you can duplicate down. If you use Control and select multiple cells, type a value. So I'm typing one date, and before I press enter, I use Control Enter. It automatically takes that one value and applies it to all of those cells that I have selected. So there's a lot of keyboard shortcuts for you to get data in as quickly as possible. So have a look at those keyboard shortcuts and try and introduce them into your daily use of Microsoft Excel. Okay, so I am now going to stop presenting or stop sharing And let me quickly, it took away my little menu. Let me go back here. Okay. And see if there are any questions, comments, anything from the floor, something that people want me to go over or to discuss that is really relevant in their life at the moment. Anybody want to ask or comment?
Kirstin, it's not in my life, but it's in my husband's life. Under your data, you changed the weather, the maps, those kind of things. If you change that cell to weather, I mean, obviously in the civil engineering, weather plays a big part. Is there any way of recording every single day of whether or not there was rain, what the weather was like, those kind of things?
No, Jen, you can't do that with that feature. But what you can do is link to the rainfall website. So there are a lot of weather websites and they track rainfall. So if you type into Google, and there are so many, I know, because my parents are down in the Drakensberg, and they follow a lot of websites about the weather. You can then link that as a data source in Microsoft Excel as a web page, exactly like I did for the stock exchange. You would now use that. You would link to the weather thing, and that would constantly update every single time you opened up the workbook. So yes, you can. That would be a better way to do it.
Perfect. And I want you to design one of these worksheets for me. Thank you.
Okay. Pleasure, Jen. Pleasure. Jennifer, I see you've got your hand up. Am I reading it correctly?
That was Tanya.
Tanya.
Tanya and Lynette.
Hi there. Thank you so much. Firstly, super powerful information that you've shared. I'm actually quite mind blown. Just a quick question with regards to sharing that the one tab that you copied and then obviously shared to a client. If you share that as an Excel sheet to the clients and you update your main sheets, will it automatically update? No,
it won't. So that it's not linked. It's just a copy. So it won't automatically update. And Tanya, to be honest with you, what I do once I've created that copy that I'm going to share, I literally use Control A, select all, Control C, copy, and then I say paste values, so that they don't see any of my formulas. They can't see my markup. They can't see. They can't see my tips and tricks, otherwise they'll be able to do it themselves. So they normally only get a static sheet as the report.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Now you want them to come back to you for the update, Tanya. Don't give it all away.
True.
Okay. Lynette, did you have your hand up?
I didn't have my hand up, but I do have a question. Kirstin, I joined very late. I only saw your link late, and then I'm in the office and I had Wi-Fi issues, and let's not go there.
Oh, sure.
This
real life.
Is there a recording available of what you've just done today? Because I see I had to accept the recording. Will it be available? Because I don't even know what questions to ask because I missed too much. So if I can go through the recording afterwards, that will be a huge benefit to me.
The recording will be available, Lynette. So I'm going to send you the link for the recording as well as this workbook, so that you can play the recording at half the speed, maybe, and you can work through the workbook at the same time, and then start conversations with those people around you. Can we do it better? Can we do it easier? Are we spending too much time capturing data, trying to create information? Shouldn't we be? And that's why, yes, I will definitely be sharing the recording and the workbook with you, Lynette.
Thanks so much. Thanks,
Kirstin. It's a huge pleasure. Anyone else? Anyone got any questions, comments, considerations? Robin, I would love to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, Robin does not like Microsoft Excel, but we have a good relationship and we respect each other. Robin, can you see a little bit of potential in Microsoft Excel? Do you think there's a little bit of potential that you could use possibly one day? Robin's not even speaking to me now.
Listen, if I know Robin, even with me as a client going as a real estate agent, that is so powerful to put it into all my clients So I know exactly how far I'm going and that sort of thing. And at a push of the button, I can send that information to Robin, because it takes me months to do my blooming logbook, and it's horrible. So it's going to be an absolute pleasure. So thank you, Kirstin. Very powerful.
No, absolute pleasure. Thanks, Jen. Thank you. Thank you. Jade, you got your hand up.
I do, yes. I wanted to share, because I'm quite old, as you all know, everybody knows. Every time I think I know pretty much a lot about something, Kirstin comes and puts a kibosh in it, and then shows me more ways to be anxious, to change my habits, because that's what it amounts to. We all have bad habits when we use software, and especially for us old folk who came up through the DOS prompt and Lotus and have never used Excel the way it was intended. Thank you so much, Kirstin.
It's a huge pleasure, Jade. Thank you for the share. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that's got any feedback? Nothing. All right. So, okay. Tapelo.
My name is Bosworth, and morning to everyone.
Morning.
My question is it possible to also add a link of being notified when your client has made payments?
So where would they make payment? How would you know?
Maybe you get notified on your Sage.
So yeah, so that would be part of your Sage environment, and I'm not too sure. I'm trying to think now off the top of my head how live Sage is, but that not in an Excel environment. So that would be from your accounting software perspective, not in Microsoft Excel. No.
Okay.
But you can have your Excel spreadsheets. If you create your Excel spreadsheets in SharePoint or Microsoft Teams, your Excel spreadsheets can be posted online or have online access. So you can create an environment where your clients are actually filling in your spreadsheets for you and adding the data for you. Again, another really quick way to make sure the data comes in. And by doing that, you would make a huge use. I would encourage you to make a huge use of data validation. In other words, using those drop-down lists, restricting certain cells to only have a date, so forth and so on. But you can definitely set that up either in Microsoft Teams or SharePoint and publish it online, and your clients would have direct access. Tanya, I see your hand up. I'm coming to you now. Or what you can do in Microsoft Teams is actually create a form where they will follow a link, they will fill in the form, and your Excel spreadsheet will automatically be updated. That is also an alternative arrangement that you can do.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Bosworth.
Pleasure, Tapelo. Thank you for logging on. Tanya, you want to ask something more?
So I noticed on your Excel spreadsheets, the headings of the column headings had like a drop-down menu. Is there a reason that it was set up in that way and it wasn't just typed in, for example?
So what's happening there, let me quickly share my screen and then I'll also show you another feature just to end off our session today. With all of these, with all of my data, I make use of Control-A, Control-T, Control-A, Control-T. Hold on a sec. I just want to quickly show you. It won't let me do it on something that's already a table. So I select all my data and I go Control-T, and Control-T creates a table. And you would now, if you've set it up properly, it would already have picked up where your headers were, so forth and so on. So what it's doing over here is it's seeing this as a table, and I have actually renamed my tables. So every single object in Microsoft Excel, I rename. So I use prefixes because I rename all my objects. So it's a table, and this is the travel log and so forth and so on. What comes automatically with your tables is your auto filter functionality. So you can go and if you've got conditional formatting, you can go and sort by color. It'll show you all of those cells that have been automatically colored in, or cells that you have manually colored in. Plus, you can go now and select what you just want to see and what you don't want to see. So if I had to go over here to destination, I would tell it that I want to go and see people that are my client that is Excel Edge. That's who I want to see. And I say, okay. And now it will filter to only show me that data.
Okay.
And obviously, the more and more rows you've got, the more and more powerful this becomes, because now you get to focus on specific data. And that's why you don't need different sheets per client or per day or per month, because of this fantastic auto filter functionality.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So what I wanted to do now, if there were no other questions from the floor, what I'm going to do now is just quickly show you. Remember, I showed you that chart, and that was the big chart. Another great little chart that you can use as part of your data and information is to use what we call a spark line. So if I go over here, for example, and I go insert and I say I want a line, spark line. So I can tell it to take this information. I'm just going to select this over here and I'm going to say, okay. So now what it'll do is it'll create a little graph. And obviously my data is not moving enough for us to see the movement. But it will create a little graph that you can now get an indication of what's happening with this data. So let's say there, you can see now it moves that little graph. So that it now will give you a smaller indication of what's going on. And at a glance, you've got again that analysis at your fingertips where you're seeing movement, you're seeing a trend. And that's why we're allowed to have over 16,000 columns so that we can see a trend over time. And that little graph will just give us a quick picture of what's going on. So that little feature is called spark lines, and you can either make it a line or you can make it columns. You can have either or, whatever you are more comfortable using. And it's a great way, like I said, to have that analysis. So something also to consider. All right, if there is nothing else, please wait for my emails. I am going to send you, like I said, a follow-up email after the session. And I am going to include the link as well as the workbook. I really hope that this gives you a kickstart to those technology conversations you can have with those around you. Thank you to everyone so much for logging on today. I really, truly am blessed to have you. Thank you. Wishing everyone a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Kirstin.
Kirstin.
Thank you so
Very
much.
powerful.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, bye.